Warsaw, 1987. Alice Coltrane Turiyasangitananda. The quartet. And you've never heard that one. That's not something you're going to hear on any other radio station, but it's here in the WKCR archives. We call this show Deep Focus. I'm your host, Mitch Goldman, and this station is WKCR New York, WKCR-HD, 89.9 FM here in New York City, WKCR.org, wherever you might happen to be. And this program, Deep Focus, you can listen to anytime you want. You can even listen and send it to your friend who you think might love it. If you subscribe to the podcast, and if you do, you will be notified when new episodes go up. You can also participate. There's a little conversation going on right now on Instagram. We are deep_focus_podcast, Deep Focus Podcast at Instagram. And you'll see we try to find unique photos of these artists and little tales about them. You'll meet people who love the music you love. All kinds of great things happen if you subscribe to Deep Focus on your favorite podcasting app. And wait, there's more. Oh, it's all free. You know that. But every episode has a guest, and that guest's music is always worthy of your discovery. So you might tune in to hear Alice, but you're also going to walk away with Vijay Iyer. And that's worth the price of admission. And you get a money-back guarantee. And if you're here in New York City and you're listening live on June 8th, 2026, Vijay, you're going to be playing Jazz Gallery, a really small venue with some stellar company. You're going to be there in a trio with Henry Threadgill and Daphne Prieto, June 19th and 20th.
I am.
That is a thrill. Very special. Very special.
I'm lucky.
Yeah.
Speaking of lucky, how lucky were we to hear all of that?
Man, the whole set was great. That was the end of the performance. We do need to tell them who's in the band. But I was going to say, it really, really came to a fever pitch. It almost felt like they were just getting started when the end of the set was coming. I don't know if you felt that way.
Well, it's you know how it is with live music, that it's a process, and you know everyone gets carried somewhere over the course of a concert or of even a set, and I feel like where that band ended, that set was so different from where it began, which was really fascinating to witness, to feel it working on themselves and on you. You hear them gradually opening wider and wider and cracking you open wider and wider, and this last flurry of gorgeous outpourings.
Mm-hmm.
Flurry of outpourings? I'm sorry, I'm mixing.
Yeah.
It just prompts you to mix metaphors, this music.
Well, it ended with that very consonant. So the band, okay, so...
Yes, let me say, so this was, had to be a very special occasion. 1987, Alice Coltrane Turiyasangitananda was not performing in public very often at all. Warsaw Jazz Jamboree managed to pull together just this spectacular lineup of Alice on piano and some harp, Reggie Workman on bass, Roy Haynes on drums, and Alice's own son, Ravi Coltrane, playing saxophones. And they were playing the music of John Coltrane, so the pieces you heard in that last stretch were Africa, you may recognize from Africa Brass, and then they segued into Leo. And there was quite a lot of spectacular solo expressions as well. The piece started with, or the whole episode sort of started with Reggie Workman doing a kind of medley of John Coltrane compositions on arco bass and then leading into that famous bass line that opens Africa. But all that was, in a way, mere substrate to the level of playing we just heard, the level of creative live composition, let's call it, that really took all of that music to a higher plane. Just a lot of new stuff in there, a lot of music, a lot of musical methods and techniques that I feel we still don't fully grasp.
I want to ask you, as a piano, one who tickles the ivories in his own.
They tickle me too.
They do, but specifically, what Alice was doing, those single note runs, and the way that she built the power, this like fire building, as that set moved along, and it just seemed to just get bigger and brighter. How do you do that? Go ahead.
How do you do that?
Tell it in 3 lessons.
There's like all these YouTube explainer guys who are like, how to play just like so-and-so.
Make like a whiteboard.
That's right. Or like a kind of, I don't know, like live transcription of, I don't know.
What is going on there?
No, I mean, it's more like, how do we even begin to talk about it? Because it really, a lot of what she's doing at the piano defies description. I mean, it is done by hand, that we can assure you. But it always feels to me like there's so many layers of activity happening. It's only 2 hands, but it feels like more than 2 streams of information.
Yeah.
Because there's sort of like these massive, there's all the gestural stuff, like what the fingers are doing. Then there are these like waves that are maybe more like what the arms are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that you feel these cascades across the registers, that these kind of, it's like it really feels like tides or something.
Yeah.
These tides of energy.
Yeah.
And then like the way that what she's playing keeps varying, so that it's like familiar shapes that keep getting moved around, so small, it's almost like I don't know, it's like looking at a fractal or something, or like a paisley, or like some Islamic art that has detail at every scale, like you zoom out, you see these big shapes, and you zoom in, that's all this micro detail,
And she's kind of falling in and out of time very deliberately, it sounds. Not like she's, doesn't know where the downbeat is. She obviously does, but she's playing with that. She's playing with harmony, and she does make the instrument sound not like the tempered instrument that it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of these waves that you hear. It's kind of like, having like checked out quite a lot of her harp playing too now, over the last few years, just trying to understand what she's doing and how, and like what it's made of, what's in it, with the harp, like the way the pedals work, you're basically like tuning the whole instrument to a scale or a mode or something. And she would create these like, familiar modes and scales, but also like more irregular ones. Or not, I don't know, I guess they're all irregular in a sense, but like these particular ones that had clusters of half steps, so that they would have like a certain, there's a very specific shape she often uses, which is kind of like, it's like, I don't know, for those of you who are musically inclined, it'd be like, it'd be like C, E flat, E, F, and then B flat B, something like that. So there'd be these like clusters of notes, but then there's also be these large intervals, like a fourth in between them. So then you'd have these, the way it would move, it's kind of like the way the hand moves across it is like, it's like in these steps, it's got both like a closeness and it travels fast at the same time. So she could kind of, and it also, like the way that sits harmonically is a little ill-fitting across, or not ill-fitting, but like it has a sort of complex relationship with something like a major or a minor chord, you know? So these kinds of shapes that she would use that would cross harmonies, I guess that's what I mean, is like it would cross tonalities. So it's more like she's building with small shapes across tonalities. I guess that's the easiest way to put it. Took me a while to get there. But that's just like one method she's using to kind of create these large sweeping shapes that keep turning and keep, it's like watching I just saw a video of this like starfish that is like all its limbs are very soft and they look like plant, like it looks like plant. It looks like a plant just swimming or something. So it has this like real flow to it that keeps undulating and changing its shape, or like watching an octopus or something. Yeah. You know, how it keeps like changing its shape and changing its color and transforming its entire, but it's all one being, you know, so it's like that. That's how I feel experiencing this, is that it keeps like unfolding and you feel yourself almost hallucinating trying to track it. Like it just takes you across all these different modalities of experience.
It doesn't sound like anybody else.
No, not at all, no.
And of course, our other two heroes, two of our other three heroes, right? Reggie Workman on the bass, Roy Haynes on the drums, like they don't lose a breath. They're like, yo, let's go.
No, they're all in it together. It feels really unified by the end of the set. They're very, very much in a similar space of just ecstatic unfolding of expression. It's really, really inspiring.
And I only exclude Ravi Coltrane from that bit of the conversation. I'm hearing in my head towards the end, before they come back with that rich, sweet consonant exhale.
Yes.
So it's a trio part where it really seemed to come to a head.
Yeah.
That was, man. Okay, well, we're sitting in a radio studio. I'm lost in it. The show is called Deep Focus. We're on WKCR. I'm your host, Mitch Goldman. Vijay Iyer and I are just spilled our ears and our brains out on the carpet.
That music has this effect on you where you just feel like a blithering idiot afterward.
But
internally you feel remade and reborn. It's like this rejuvenating energy that's so glorious.
Yeah, but we still got to do a radio show.
Oh yeah, man. Right. You're kind of still listening to us. Okay.
So where to?
I think so. We had these options, right?
Yes. Well, let's give the view from 30,000 feet once again. So, Vijay, you're my guest on the show, and you have chosen our topic for tonight.
Yes, Alice Coltrane Turiyasangitananda. Again, one of the great artists of the 20th century. A very, she's known as like maybe one of the progenitors of what people nowadays call spiritual jazz. I don't know about that phrase, but I keep seeing it. And that is true. You can't deny her influence, widespread influence on the world, the musical world, music-making world, and the world of just culture. I think people associate her also with a kind of a version of Afrofuturism. She really was her own person, her own artist, and I keep learning from her. And each day there's a new fragment of the truth all the truths that she discovered that kind of like arrives in my life that I feel remade by. So we have like these different live recordings, and we had some options here, and since we only have about a half hour left, one was the Carnegie Hall 1971 performance, which has recently been reissued as a commercial LP, which you should get. It's spectacular. Has an incredible lineup. Happened in 1971. We have this other one, the Berkeley Live at the Berkeley Community Theater, 1972, which was also once upon a time issued on LP, and they're both spectacular. I think this one, because it's harder to find nowadays, the one from Berkeley is the one we're going to listen to. This begins with one of her compositions. We haven't heard any of her own compositions yet today, and so we're going to start with this one called Journey in Sachitananda. This concert it's presented as a sextet, the Alice Coltrane Sextet. It's Alice Coltrane Turiyasangitananda on harp, organ, and piano. The first piece you'll hear a lot of great Wurlitzer organ. The bassist is none other than Charlie Hayden. Mm-hmm. The drummer is none other than Ben Riley. Mm-hmm. And then these other two people who are listed, who are credited, I'm not sure they appear till later, but it's Ashish Khan on sarod and Pranesh Khan on tabla. And then there's someone credited on tanpura and percussion named Bobby W. No last name given. So this took place in Berkeley, 1972. Was this the one with all the... Oh, no, that was a different one. Yes, so we're going to hear Journey in Sachitananda.
This show's called Deep Focus. Your host, Mitch Goldman. Vijay Iyer is my guest. He is performing June 19th and 20th at the Jazz Gallery here in Manhattan, and with Henry Threadgill and Daphne Prieto. It's a true collaborative trio. Yeah. I have witnessed with my own ears. You don't want to miss this. Trust me. It's if you're enjoying this show, you will be so glad to be there. You can get tickets at jazzgallery.org. And as we say, the live music.
That's right.
Deep Focus. Vijay Iyer, Mitch Goldman, WKCR.
Sachidananda, dear friend and spiritual guide. cities and passed through the territory of where Pianist were born. He also traveled to the Himalayan mountains, visited Rishikesh, and bathed in the Ganges River. So I'd like to play that piece for you now.
We are at the Berkeley Community Theater. The show's called Deep Focus. I'm your host, Mitch Goldman, and I am going to hand things over to my guest, Vijay Iyer, to tell you what we are hearing.
This is the oops.
Yeah, no, that was all me. All me.
Hey, hi. That was a spectacular, epic performance of Journey in Sachitananda by Alice Coltrane Turiyasangitananda and her band in 1972, this incredible ensemble of Charlie Hayden on bass, Ben Riley on drums, and an encounter with actually one of the great sarod players of all time, Ashish Khan, who just passed away 2 years ago, and his brother Pranesh Khan on tabla. So they somehow seamlessly emerged out of the fray of this band, of this, like, what felt at first like a trio performance of that classic piece of Alice's. Then eventually you started to hear tabla interacting with the drums, and then suddenly we heard this incredible duo of Ashish and Pranesh Khan, kind of doing this like Hindustani classical music in that very iconic way. Ashish Khan studied with his grandfather Alauddin Khan, who was also the teacher of both his father Ali Akbar Khan and Ravi Shankar. So they all were kind of in the same zone. So yes, that was a really fascinating encounter. I think you heard Alice on both the Wurlitzer electric organ. What did I say it was called? It's called I had to look this up because I forgot already. I lost the page, but it's a Wurlitzer organ from the 1970s. Centurion, is that what it was? 805, something like that.
I think it was 805.
805 was the number, and there's a synthesizer embedded in the organ. There's like an extra.
You described it.
Yes.
But nothing you did or could have said would have prepared me for the sonic onslaught that I heard.
The range of colors, because you're hearing a full like electric organ sound with like the deep bass pedals and the deep left-hand bass and these chords that are like electrified and sizzling, and then this like monophonic analog synthesizer line that's kind of piercing through those textures. Really just glorious. And then after that duo of Ashish and Pranesh Khan, suddenly you heard an electrified harp.
Yeah.
Which is Alice Coltrane's also one of her instruments of choice, but I've never heard it quite like that. The way it was amplified, it had a kind of buzz to it, a kind of it had a different sound to it. It actually felt expanded in a way that I hadn't heard. Anyway, this is a version of that classic Journey in Sachitananda that is unlike anything that you might have heard. And this is from live at the Berkeley Community Theater in 1972. And I guess we're coming to the end of our show here, but we will maybe get into a little more of this set.
Yeah.
In the final minutes.
I think we got to, I always find myself saying this, 3 hours flies by.
It really did fly by, my goodness.
And you have taken us, and Alice has taken us on a stunning journey. And you know, from where we started out talking about what the perception of her had been by some people at this time, and to hear with fresh ears how really fresh and vibrant this music is. It's I think stunning, and I don't want to say that people have slept on her and overlooked. I don't want to presume what people's experience has been, but if you haven't immersed yourself in her music, I've nothing else I think we've demonstrated. There's something magnificent awaiting you.
Yeah, and also that there's so much to learn. Like, even when you think you know it, you go back to it and it brings you something new. And that's true for me as a musician, too, that I said it already, but I feel like just a beginner every time I encounter her music, because I feel like there's more that I thought I knew that I didn't know at all. You know, it really brings you back to the elements in a way that's like so revolutionary. The endless creativity she brought to this format. All her studio albums are really important. From this, there's a whole series that she did in the 70s with producer Ed Michel. There's one called Eternity that's really glorious and has a large ensemble on it. She did like whole versions of Stravinsky on some of those records. There's like a long excerpt from Rite of Spring, another long excerpt from The Firebird. She was constantly pushing herself. And then after this period, she starts this ashram and then only does devotional music. And there's a lot of that you can access now that's been released in the last several years by her estate, by Ravi Coltrane and others who are handling all of that. And it's all been pretty incredible.
Vijay Iyer, I'm going to say one more time, playing, if you're listening, June 8th, 2026, as we're broadcasting this, you are going to be at the Jazz Gallery June 19th and 20th with Henry Threadgill and Daphnis Prieto. And what's the best way to keep track of the many, 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 many things that you do, touring, recording, and beyond?
I'm pretty easy to find online. My website is vijay-iyer.com. That's VIJAY-IYER.com. So most of it is there most of the time, although I'm not sure how updated it is. But anyway, there's also social media and stuff like that. I do show up on there too.
Don't miss the opportunity to hear Vijay play. He's even more compelling at the piano than he is at the mic here on the radio with me.
I hope so.
And that's not even mentioning what a fantastic guest you've been again.
Well,
thank you.
It's a pleasure to reconnect with you, dear friend.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we did it up. We did, I think we brought a little shine to Alice Coltrane Turiyasangitananda. And
she brought some shine to us.
Boy, did she. Oh, man. This is a treat, really. Shall we go back to Berkeley?
Yeah, 1972. We'll just hear the very beginning opening of some portion of A Love Supreme.
Of A Love Supreme.
WKCR New York, WKCR-HD, WKCR.org, 89.9 FM. Find the Deep Focus podcast on your favorite podcasting app.